It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. Rinse and repeat.
Today's show is sponsored by Rabid Penguin Spray, the only spray guaranteed to keep dangerous rabid penguins at bay.
And you just never know. You can come across one at any time.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So there's a lot that has to do with the election for this program today, which is not what I was looking for, but most websites out there dealing with any kind of news are all election all the time, since we're not very far away from actual election day right now. I mean, obviously that would be the case. What's not surprising to me, but always interesting to me, is when certain news organizations really start to reveal themselves as we get close to election time, especially when one is as contentious as this one would be. And so I'll get into a little bit this morning how some news organizations were trying to hide and even object to anyone calling them liberal bias until we get to this time. And then they just go ahead and reveal it. But put all that aside for a minute. Because you're just starting your Monday, right? Okay. So I had heard about this before, but I'd forgotten all about it. Here I was in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Morning, Cheyenne. And I was on Lincoln Way. And if you know Lincoln Way, more toward the eastern side of town, sort of, there's McDonald's. And so there I was, it was breakfast time. And it was pointed out to me by somebody I was sitting with saying, donuts, sushi. I'm sorry, what? Donuts and sushi. Okay, that's a weird flavor combination. Now, if you live in Cheyenne, you know probably what I'm talking about. For those that don't, and I turn around and there's this old building. It looks like at some point it could have been some donut shop or something like that, but it's really run down. So I wondered if it was open at all. And he's pointing that way. And the sign out front, which is an old sign that looks like part of what made me think the place was closed. And in the middle of the sign, you can take a look at this. It's on the Wake Up Wyoming site this morning. In the middle of the sign, it says, Delectable Donuts. And on either side of the donut sign, this is all part of one bigger sign, it says, Sushi. And okay, if you've listened to the show enough, you know me by now. I have to go find out. So I get up and I start walking over there. And as I'm walking across the parking lot, I took a picture for you of the front of the building. You'll see this in the story, the donut and sushi sign, and how old and battered it is. Don't mean any pun by the battered, by the way. So I walk up to the door thinking there's no way this is open. And I also kind of wondered, is it a place that ever sold donuts and sushi both? Or was it a donut shop that was taken over by a sushi shop, or a sushi shop that was taken over by a donut shop? Not sure. Either way, I'm convinced they're closed. By now, you're probably thinking I'm making this story up, but I'm not. Again, go ask people in Cheyenne. They know. If you're anywhere else in Wyoming or Colorado or Nebraska, any place else that listens, you go ask people in Cheyenne. They probably know what I'm talking about. So I get to the front door, and I pull on it, and lo and behold, it opens. And as I step through, there are people inside. Now, to my right, there's the side of the restaurant that's a sushi shop. And there are people sitting there eating this Japanese delicacy and enjoying themselves, seem to be really enjoying themselves. In front of me, what looks like the other half of the store is a traditional-looking donut shop. And a young man behind the counter, good morning. You here for donuts or sushi? So you can imagine at this point, I'm just kind of standing there staring at him, blinking, trying to process this. But and yes, if you're thinking the smell of donuts and sushi together is kind of a weird combination, it is. But I never thought I would smell the two together. Never entered my mind, but there it was. Now, being the smart ass that I am, and I know you're thinking, no, Glenn, you a smart ass? Well, that's who I am. And I turned to him and said, can I get a donut with some sushi in the hole? I just pictured a donut with the donut hole filled with sushi. I mean, that's what you're selling here, right? So I just said, can I get a donut with the sushi in the hole? And he laughed, and then he said, no, seriously. Oh, okay. And I went ahead and ordered a couple of different kinds of donuts that looked interesting. They actually looked pretty good. So I ordered 2 different donuts, and I'm walking out of the store, chewing on these donuts, thinking, actually, these are pretty good. I was really pleased that I didn't get garbage donuts. These were actually good donuts. And so I wondered, I'm not much of a sushi eater, but for those of you who love sushi, if the donuts are that good, I bet you the sushi is that good. Probably is. And the people who are on the other side of the restaurant, which is not far away, I mean, it's a very small place, so they're really close to me. They were eating sushi, and they really seemed to be enjoying it. Now, I wonder, for you sushi eaters out there, would you eat sushi for, let's say, dinner, and then have donuts for dessert? Now, I asked that because I went to a Thankful Thursday last week, and once again, they were serving some kind of what is it, folks, that you serve? Was it a chili? And you have with that, you have your cinnamon roll. Am I getting that right? Okay. Well, and I've never really experienced that until I came to Wyoming, that was a flavor combination that people liked. So I went, would you order some donuts and then have some sushi to go with it? I would think not. But I would think you would order sushi and have donuts to go with it. Anyway, if you want to take a look at where this place is, in the story that I wrote on the Wake Up Wyoming site, there's an address. You can click on it and see it on Google Earth. For those of people who are listening to me and you don't believe me, I swear that is. I also went ahead on, this is really easy to do with artificial intelligence today. I just asked artificial intelligence to create for me a sushi and a donut. And then I asked for it to create for me a donut with sushi in the hole, and it did. And by God, it looks pretty real. So if you want to see what that looks like, that whole story is on the Wake Up Wyoming site. Because I know right now there's people rolling out of bed, and they're listening to the radio, and they're thinking, the hell am I listening to? Well, I swear to you, everything that I just said, absolutely 100% true.
It's my beach ball collection. And what happens, what you can do here is I've got about 500 beach balls in here. And this is one of my favorites. I keep it near the door. Pretty typical one. This is called the RB150 model, which was just recently discontinued. In fact, I don't know why. It was a pretty good beach ball. This is about as fine a workmanship as you can see. This is what is a good seam here. See how flat it lays here? I got about 500 of them in here, and I have one of those storage facilities in town where I keep some of the other ones. Some people have said that I should keep this locked up because it's pretty valuable. I mean, I wouldn't even know. I mean, an insurance guy came out here recently. He had no idea.
Want to talk to Glenn? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So morning, Red and I are having a conversation. He's in Casper, Wyoming, and conversation is about. I know you're not going to believe me if you've never been to this place in Cheyenne, Wyoming, but it's a place that is a sushi / donut restaurant. They have them both in the same place. and it looks run down and old in there, but their donuts are really good. I didn't try the sushi. To me, it's a weird combination, but I tried the donuts. Really good. Anyway, yeah, you can go ahead and check that out. Hang on a second here. I'm having an argument with the computer, and currently the computer is winning the argument. I just heard a story on your Western Ag Network that there's an ordinance in Colorado that would get rid of Denver's only slaughterhouse. Now, this is coming up on the ballot. Ordinance number 309 asks Denver voters whether or not to prohibit slaughterhouses within its city limits. Now, look at this. It's not like the old days. The first time we really started having rules and regulations on slaughtering was a story here in America where a guy took a pig, and it was a butcher shop, and he took a pig right out onto the street, right in front of his shop, right in downtown. And of course, this is back in the days when the roads were dirt, and he just killed the pig and started to cut it up and so on, right there in the street, blood running down the road and so on. And people said, all right, that's enough. And so there's where some rules and regulations got started, which I'm not 100% opposed to, especially not just because gross, but not only does not, I mean, everybody knows this happens and everybody wants to see this, but it's also just a matter of sanitary reasons. And I'm okay with inspections, and so, we want good, clean, healthy food. So we have some rules for some good reasons. However, having a slaughterhouse in Denver, right in the middle of the city somewhere, most people wouldn't even know that it's there because everything's done indoors. Most people don't know exactly what's going on, but there's always activists somewhere. Story says Superior Farms has operated as Denver plant since 1996 and handles almost 1/5 of the nation's lamb, including 7% from local Colorado ranchers. They also have a plant in Dixon, California, which processes similar, though slightly smaller, quantities of lamb. But the Denver facility would no longer exist if Ordinance number 309 passes this November. One of the more controversial measures, the story says on the ballot, Ordinance 309 asks Denver voters whether or not to prohibit slaughterhouses within city limits. Beginning in 2026, it would be by default a ban on Denver's only existing slaughterhouse, which tells me, though, that if that's the case, if they end up closing it down right there in Denver, and if you're thinking, well, right in downtown by all the apartments, Denver's so big and so sprawling, and there's an industrial side to it, but it would just move, the plant would move somewhere else. But then once again, these are activists trying to shut something down. The measure was brought forward by a grassroots group called Pro Animal Future. So you see what they're really trying to do is shut it down and make sure it never comes back. Who also placed Ordinance 308, a proposed ban on the sale of fur, on Denver's ballot. Their goal to end industrialized animal agriculture, says the story. So I would love to see what Colorado does, but I hope Colorado says no to something like this. I see Beth and Shane. Morning, Glenn. That donut store has been there a while. Used to be Daylight Donut. Always good donuts, no matter what the name was or is. No, this is she's talking. I'd known about it. I was told about it, but I never really paid attention before because whenever I'm on Lincoln Highway heading through that side of town, I'm always paying attention to the traffic. And so I'm not really looking left or right as to the name of the stores. And their donut sushi sign is not out on the street. It's up on the building. I would have to look way off to the right as I drove by. It also, the building sits back a little ways. So that's why it never stood out to me before. Hollywood and Laramie says, these leftists are bound and determined to make us eat bugs. Yet I don't believe for a hot New York second that they will do what they are forcing us to do. I don't think so either. No, I'm honestly, when it comes to this group, and I want to pay a little bit more attention to this story here, when it comes to this group in Colorado trying to shut down a butcher shop, but also the other ordinance, and you're not allowed to sell fur, my thought is always I would like to go to their house first, and I'd like to see what they're doing. We'll start with that. Because if they're being hypocritical in any way, conversation over. Okay. But next, it's a matter of what is it we want. I mean, we know now what the activists want. but what do we want? And I think that matters too. And that's part of what we have to talk about here is we should be able to do what we want to do. If you want to be a meat eater and you want to wear fur, go ahead if that's what you want to do. I-80 John says, morning, Glenn. The sushi donut shop is a smart business idea since most donut shops close around noon. Good way to make extra money. Yeah, I understand that, but it's the combination of the two. I mean, honestly speaking, it's the combination of the two. Sushi and donuts. That's why the first thing I pictured was I buy a donut with a regular donut hole, and there's a piece of sushi stuck in the middle of it. That's the first thing I pictured when I saw the sign. But okay. Now, I'd like to know if anyone's eaten there. Have you had the sushi and then ordered donuts for dessert? And does the flavor combination work? Inquiring minds want to know. Coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way after local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming goes anywhere you do with the Wake Up Wyoming app. Free download for Apple and Android. This is K2 Radio.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming for those people just getting up. So first story, which, by the way, I'm going to have to pass this by our sports guy, Frank. He'll love this story about the restaurant that's in Cheyenne, which is a sushi donut restaurant. If you just woke up, don't check your coffee cup. You heard that right. They sell sushi and they sell donuts. Now, Fire Pit Paul is from Cheyenne. He's eaten there, he said, and they're very clean, very good food. Now, I didn't eat the sushi, but the donuts were absolutely excellent. Now, as far as going down to Colorado, Ordinance 309 would end a lamb slaughterhouse in Denver, which I think if it was voted in, the company would just move somewhere else. And this is being put out by an activist group who doesn't even... They also have Ordinance 308, which is supposed to be to stop people from wearing fur coats, stuff like that. So, let me see. Who did you go by here? Pardon me when I checked the name. Yeah, Hollywood is in Laramie. These leftists are bound and determined to make us eat bugs. Yet I don't believe for a New York second that they will do what they want us. And we got into a conversation here about, I'd like to go to their house first to see what they eat. So he says, I bet they feel fine about their Gucci bags or their leather belts and boots. I really do enjoy checking out the hypocrisy of folks like this, especially when it's one thing if you're being hypocritical and you know it, but you do it anyway. But it's also fun to catch people being hypocritical, and they have no idea that they were being hypocritical. Like to point out, for those people who want to keep all oil in the ground, to point out how many petroleum products we have out there. There's no way that if you do this, do you understand how much of your life is going to disappear if we got rid of all petroleum products? It's just not, you don't understand where you're going to put humanity and how many people you're going to kill if you do something like this. They have no clue. So some people are accidentally hypocritical. Some people, they intentionally are hypocritical. They know they're being hypocritical, but they demand it of the rest of us. But yeah, they're trying to get us all to eat bugs, essentially.
Welcome to Wiggle Burgers. Would you like to see a menu?
Sure, but I probably just want a rib burger and some fries. I'm in a hurry and I'm really hungry.
You might like the grasshopper bacon bits or the mealworm arancini. Maybe try some worm salt soup.
But wait, what the heck is the mescal worm salad?
Oh, those little guys are great. We crushed them fresh this morning.
You crushed.
Have to do it while they're still larvae, or there's that horrible crunching sound. Besides, most people don't like exoskeleton in their mouth.
Just what the hell are you saving here?
Sir, Wiggle Burgers is a bug restaurant. We serve only organic, sustainable bug and bug larvae. Gotta keep that carbon footprint down. Save the planet, you know?
Oh, please tell me they brought Candid Camera back.
I don't understand.
Yeah, you're probably too young for that television show. It was on back when a person had to get up and go change the channel.
So you remember when the world was in black and white?
Well, most things were black and white back then. I have no idea what the hell is going on now. Look, I'm in a rush. Just give me a bowl of cereal. That should be safe enough.
Mealworm puffs okay? Do you want nut milk or freshly squeezed cicada larvae?
You don't just have cow's milk, do you?
That's disgusting.
You know, if you keep grossing people out like this, you'll kill everybody's appetite and starve the human race.
Guaranteed population control? That sounds perfect.
To be honest with me, do you really eat this stuff?
Oh, come on now. If you advocate for this stuff, you don't actually have to do it.
Oh, but the rest of us better, or else.
Damn straight.
So, yeah, Ordinance 309 in Denver, Colorado would get rid of the slaughterhouse, which is a lamb slaughterhouse. Ordinance 308 from this pro-animal future group, as they call themselves, would not let people buy things like fur coats and so on. Quote, we want the world to see what it is like to have no factory farming. Yeah, we've lived that way. Really. We've lived at a time when there was no industrial farming. In fact, I tell you what, next hour, I'm going to go ahead and call up a story that I had in reserve for a while, but it's about time that I got to it. It is an article about what the world was like before we had industrial farming and how tough things really were. I mean, did people survive? Yeah. Did we live long? No. And the hygiene that came with it was really bad, too. But yeah, for those people who we got to get rid of those industrial farms. Again, much like getting rid of petroleum, you have no idea what you're really asking for.
Welcome to Wiggle Burgers.
Hang on
Would
a
you like
second.
to see
I didn't
a
mean to
menu?
hit that one. I meant to hit this one.
Yesterday, scientists in the United States revealed that beer contains small traces of female hormones. To prove their theory, they fed 100 men 12 pints of beer and observed that 100% of them started talking nonsense and couldn't drive.
Got something to say to Glenn? Use the chat on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app and get your opinions straight to the studio with K2 Radio.
.48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the Icebox. Frank Gambino going by. Frank, did you stop by the Candy Bowl?
No, not yet.
Okay.
And normally I usually get there first, but
so
not
we
today.
will wait while you open up the door and reach into the candy bowl because there's something there for you.
Ooh.
I will sit here and just wait, keep the audience
Okay,
entertained.
right there? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, okay. You hear the door open there. That's Frank reaching out there, and he reaches into the candy bowl there, and yeah, it's kind of, you can hear his reaction already. It's kind of big what he has in there. I'll explain when he gets back here.
Holy smokies.
Yes, isn't that big?
It's a whole bag.
It's a whole bag of it. Okay, so
Who is Sherry?
Yeah, okay, Sherry is a friend of mine and listener in Cheyenne, Wyoming. She listens every single morning,
Okay.
and she's been hearing you going on and on and on about the M&Ms in the bowl.
Yes.
Okay, having heard enough of that, she decided to do you a favor.
She did.
That is, now they call that a party bag. That's what it says on it.
It's a bag for about 5 people.
Yes, yeah. Well, that kind of a party bag is when you sit down to watch a sporting event like you like to do, and you're having your own private party. Because I'm still not sharing that with anybody.
No. Oh, no. So should I take it downstairs and hide it from everyone?
Yes,
the
I
wolves?
think you should. Because you've seen what happens. I have filled that candy bowl, several times over, at least 4 times over, if not 5. So I think what you need to do is let's never speak of this again.
No.
And it sits in your desk drawer. Folks, this is a really big bag of M&Ms. You have no idea. You have to hold it pretty much with 2 hands.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Sherry, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to go
yes.
right in my refrigerator.
Yes. There is, by the way, a tax or a fee for me having to transport that up for you.
Oh,
I
I got to pay by the mile?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's like one M&M per mile.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's
I put it on my account.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. I don't think that account's ever going to come to. In the meantime, you see what's left in. There's mostly just those fake eyeballs left in there.
Yeah.
And I know. Was it Thursday is Halloween? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's going to last everybody to Thursday.
No. I'm taking it home.
Oh, you're taking the whole thing home.
Yeah.
I bet you're leaving the eyeballs behind.
Oh, the eyeballs they can have.
Yeah, you're not really caring about the eyeballs.
That has my name on it.
Yeah, okay. Frank declared it. So, all right, folks. You know, Frank never gets fat, by the way.
No.
He eats all this stuff and he never gains an ounce. Damn you, man.
Oh, all righty. College football, the Wyoming Cowboy football program is rock bottom. After a 27-25 loss to Utah State in Laramie on Saturday, Utah State is now 2-6 and didn't even have their best player in the game. The Pokes are 1-7 and lost the game when Utah State kicked a 40-yard field goal as time expired. At the quarterback spot, maybe it's dawned on the coaching staff that freshman Caden Anderson should be the guy and Evan Swoboda should be on the bench. Anderson was 15 of 24 for 182 yards, had some balls dropped. Savoda 2 of 7 for 12 yards with another interception, his 7th of the year, which led to a USU touchdown in the last minute of the first half. The offense appears to run better with Anderson in there, and frankly, he should be in there all the time. Utah State has a terrible defense, allowed the Pokes to run 276 yards total, and they still lost. The officiating was iffy, too. Wyoming got the raw end of the deal with calls and no calls alike, which earned the ire of head coach Jay Sawvell, who earned an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and then a reprimand from the league in his post-game comments about the officiating. Face it, the Wyoming program is a train wreck with issues all over the place, and if anybody cares, Cowboys will be at New Mexico on Saturday. In the NFL, the Denver Broncos are 5-3 after they drilled a bad Carolina team yesterday, 28-14. Bronco rookie quarterback Bo Nix threw 3 touchdown passes and ran for another. So he was functional. The Denver defense was functional with a couple of interceptions and 3 sacks. Carolina's a woeful 1-7. And for the Broncos, it's going to get serious this week as they'll be on the road at Baltimore. And the state high school cross-country meet was held on Saturday in Cheyenne. In the 4A girls race, Maggie Matson of Cheyenne East won the individual state championship, and Cheyenne Central won the team title by just a single point over Natrona. Central's Sophia Rose was 5th. NC's Allie Wheeler was 4th, and her teammate Ashley Gross was 6th. Star Valley won the 4A team title for the boys, with Jace Burton of Star Valley winning the individual title. Central's Race Morrell took 4th, and Natrona's Kalel Brubaker was 5th. And tonight in baseball is Game 3 of the World Series. The New York Yankees will host the Los Angeles Dodgers. LA won the first 2 games of the series, and their star Shohei Ohtani slightly separated his shoulder in Game 2, but will play tonight at Yankee Stadium. That's it in sports.
Okay, so apparently the road distance between Casper and Cheyenne is 179.7 miles.
179.
So I need to have 179.7.
Well,
M&Ms.
you know what? As a tip for driving that, I'll give you 178.
Yeah, 178. You just count them out for me. Yeah. None of the green ones, by the way. Just
really? Now you're acting like Van Halen. No,
that sounds good. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we got to take care of. We're going to roll. And thanks, Sherry, for treating Frank like that. You're really going to enjoy those. And again, he'll eat the whole bag and he won't get fat. Bastard. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. News time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday, which means rinse and repeat.
Today's show is sponsored by Rabid Penguin Spray, the only spray guaranteed to keep dangerous rabid penguins at bay.
You never know when you're going to get attacked by one of those. And if you go to Little America locations in Wyoming, there's 2 of them. you will find penguins there. They're dead, but you never know.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Now, for those people who just joined me, good morning, and I got to get you up to speed on what we did the first hour of the program real quick here. I was pointed out to I drove by this all the time. I just never saw it there because it sits back off the street just a little bit and doesn't have a sign right out front. It's in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It's on Lincoln Way, and it's a shop. It's a restaurant that sells both donuts and sushi. Now, if you don't, yes, donuts and sushi. If you don't believe me, go ahead and take a look at the story we have on the Wake Up Wyoming site. It's there. In fact, that reminds me, hang on, before I explain that just a little bit more, I do have an opening. I'm not going to figure out which one it is. One of the openings that we have for the morning show here talks about squid-flavored donuts. Well, this is a sushi-flavored donut. It's an actual shop. They've been open for a while. Now, when I saw the place, I thought, I've heard about this place, I think, and I had to tax my memory on that. And as I walked over to it, and I took a picture of the shop, for those who don't believe it's real, and it says right there on their sign, donuts and sushi. And so when I walked through the door, the nice young man behind the counter wanted to know which I wanted. Good morning. Would you like donuts or sushi? He wasn't kidding. And I asked if he could take a sushi and put it in the donut hole. And he laughed and then said, no, seriously, which would you like? It's a tiny little shop that sells both. Now, from people like Fire Pit Paul and some others that have messaged me, their sushi's really good. I bought a couple of donuts, walked out chewing on those. Their donuts are excellent. The place doesn't look like much. It looks tired and old. In fact, I even wondered if it was going to be open, but they serve donuts and sushi. And when I walked into the place, the flavor combination sort of hit my nose all at once. It's weird. But there you have it. So the other story that I'm going to get into right now, after I read a couple of notes from some people who are texting me off the Wake Up Wyoming app, is in Colorado, in Denver, there's a pro-animal future is what they call themselves group. And they put on the ballot ordinance number 309 asking voters to close a slaughterhouse in Denver, which is a lamb slaughterhouse. And 308, that's an ordinance that would not allow the sale of anything with fur in Denver, which I also wonder, you want to get rid of all leather goods, too, while we're at it? If that's the way you're going to go. So we'll get into that. But first off, Mike Myers is in Boone. Morning, Mike. Say, good morning, Glenn. Love the show. Appreciate that, Mike. Bert is in Cheyenne. He says, morning, Glenn. In 1974, I worked in that building as a part-time morning janitor before school. At that time, it was a Dunkin' Donuts. So this is the donut sushi shop. Because it does look like a Dunkin' Donut shop now that I think about it. And my breakfast was warm chocolate munchkins. Sounds pretty good to start your day like that. Ran in Fort Danger. Don't forget beer. Oh, we're talking, okay, Frank Gambino got from Sherry in Cheyenne a huge, big bag of M&Ms. I mean, huge. I delivered them. And Rianne says, don't forget, he eats candy and drinks beer without gaining weight, and right there it isn't fair. Frank Gambino will eat that whole bag of M&Ms and drink beer at the same time. She's right, and he won't gain any weight. And I hate him for that. All right. Also, Morden in Gillette. Morning. If I was the owner of that company, now this goes back to, I know we have a lot going on here, but this goes back to the Colorado company. This Colorado company, again, they're a slaughterhouse for lamb, not for cattle. If I were the owner of that company, I would start looking for a new location immediately, whether it passes or not. And I agree with you. I don't care if Ordinance 309 passes or not. I agree. If I were the owner of the company, I would say this place is unfriendly. I'm not going to end it. I'm going to go find some place where I'm allowed to do this and no one's going to bother me. I got a great suggestion for you. Wheatland, Wyoming is going to get a slaughterhouse, and this is for kosher meats. So if I would, as long as you're going to do that, you can go ahead and bring up the whole lamb slaughterhouse to Wheatland or what about Douglas? Some other place like that. There's many Wyoming towns that would love to have you. Just bring them up here. Joel is in Casper. I think donuts and sushi are a combination that rivals chicken and waffles. There's another flavor combination that I never really got, chicken and waffles. Or here in Wyoming, a lot of people like to have their chili, and with the chili, I don't know if you do this while you're eating the chili or it's dessert, but they have a cinnamon roll with their chili. I've never understood the flavor combination. So do you have the cinnamon roll as dessert, or are you eating the cinnamon roll while you're eating the chili? I've never understood that. Please explain that to me. I would love to know. All right. 888-90. See how much we get done in the first hour of the program? 888-97 was the phone number. That's 888-97-WOOD. So here's what I've looked up for you. So as long as this group down there in Colorado and Denver wants to get rid of the lamb slaughterhouse, which is the only slaughterhouse in Denver, if that's the case, and this is what they say, this is what this group says, we want to see a world where there is no factory farming. Okay, so there's a good website out there. It's called Human Progress. And it's a positive website about the progress that human beings have made, where we were just a few generations ago and where we are today, and why life is so much better today. That's what the website is all about. I came across this article they wrote, The Horrors of Pre-Industrial Farming. So I want to get into that with you because a lot of people today don't think about it. You go to the grocery store and you just pull it off the shelf and there it is. And you eat it. And some people think that that's bad. The only thing I think is bad about it is we're disconnected from where stuff comes from. This allows people to do other work and focus on other things, and we've made a lot of progress because we are freed up from having to have our 40 acres and a mule. But I think it's a real important conversation to have, not just with the leftists who don't understand, but a reminder to ourselves as to where things come from and let kids know where things actually come from and how much better the world is today. Fire Pit Paul says the chili goes on top of the cinnamon roll? Okay. I've just never tried it before. I always looked at the flavor combination of the two, and it didn't make sense to me, so I never tried it. I'll tell you what, next time there's cinnamon rolls and chili, I'll go ahead and try that and just see what happens. I don't expect good results. But then again, I was just in a place that served sushi and donuts, so.
In Washington today, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision. The court reaffirmed the legality of the death penalty on the grounds that it is, quote, totally badass.
Legal experts are already talking about how this clearly marks a trend towards the Roberts Court being less strictly constitutional and more strictly awesome.
Wake up, Wyoming, with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Got something to say? Chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app or call 888-97-WOODS.
Wyoming. So Scott is in Casper. Okay, now, Scott, I don't know if I would have the nerve to do this. I might be able to do the chili on top of the cinnamon roll thing, but according to Scott, there is a Major League Baseball team out there, and let me see, hang on a second, I got to back up a little bit. Apparently they do about 10,000, oh, here we go. I'm sorry, it's Steve in Casper. Baseball team that sells about 10,000 Krispy Kreme donut hamburgers. Krispy Kreme donut hamburgers. So instead of a hamburger bun, it's the donut? Then, okay. Scott is the one who says, try cherry pie and mustard. I don't think I will. That doesn't sound good. No, it doesn't sound good. Cap in Casper says in 1776, 6.94% of our population was farmers. Today, there's about 1%. However, although I have heard that argument before, and that Cap is going to get into what I'm talking about right now, it's still, though, the 1% of farmers that we have out there produce an enormous amount of food because of modern farming techniques. So at a time when we used to have far more farmers, we were not able to produce anywhere near the amount that we have today. The reason this came up, folks, if you're just joining me, there's a proposition in Denver, Colorado to close a slaughterhouse. And the group that wants, and it's a slaughterhouse for lamb, and the group that wants to close it is Pro-Animal Future. It's only human to vote pro-animal, they say. And their idea is to get rid of basically what some of you might call corporate farming. Quote, we want to see a world where there is no factory farming, they say. Now, okay. From a website called Human Progress, the horrors of pre-industrial farming. Story says, the reality of farming were far harsher pre-industrial than a romanticized version of a peaceful rural life we often imagine it to be today. In the 17th century England, practices such as bull baiting tortured bulls before the slaughter to tenderize the meat were common, while urban dairy cows lived in filthy, cramped conditions and produced low-quality, what they call blue milk. These other grim examples highlight how far farming practices have evolved and remain with us today through modern agriculture. So, and this gets into a lot of detail, but basically I think most of you know that farming of the past was not ideal. The idea of, it was such a simple life and we all lived at peace and harmony with nature. No, it sucked. The idea of 40 acres and a mule, remember that? Because 40 acres is about what it would take to feed the average family. And the struggle that people had because we didn't have herbicides and pesticides and machines, we would get out there with our animals, but a lot of the work was human physical labor. So we didn't grow 40 acres worth of food that survived. Out of the 40 acres of food that people grew, how much of it actually survived so they could use? And the same thing goes with their animals back then. Out of all the animals they had to take care of in order to survive, how many animals actually survived it? And was it always good for the human beings? In fact, one of the reasons that people invented all sorts of herbs and spices, even ketchup was invented, was because as meat would start going rancid, people would continue to eat it. I mean, not when it got really bad, but they would continue on. And they would spice it up a bit so they couldn't quite taste that flavor. And things were not as healthy back then, much more healthy today, as we got into this this industrial age that we are in now, which, yes, there are fewer farmers than ever before. However, the farms are much bigger, and between herbicides and pesticides and tractors and modern farming techniques, including using a lot of fossil fuels, as they call it, organic fuels more properly. Because of that, and because of the way we gather the food and bring it to factories where it is all canned and bagged and frozen or whatever they're going to do to it. And then it gets to our grocery store. So the average person, rather than toiling all day long, and in most cases, most of what they grew didn't survive. Most of the animals they raised didn't survive. What did survive, they had to process it and can it and all themselves, which was a process that didn't always work. So people didn't live as long. Today, food is in much better condition. You walk into the grocery store, there it is. You pull it off the shelf or out of the freezer. And we are shocked when something, recently McDonald's got some bad onions. Don't blame McDonald's. They got some bad onions. On occasion, something gets through. But it's so rare, it's shocking to us that there was actually something that came out of the grocery store that caused people to get sick. So people are living longer than ever before and have much more leisure time, by the way, which they should use more wisely. But, yeah, you just go into the store, you pull what you need, and it's healthy. It's ready to go. and it will last a long time, preserve for a good long time. So this is because of modern farming techniques. Let me go back to this group here. What they say, we want to see a world where there is no factory farming. I don't think they understand what they're asking for there. If they got into a world where there was no factory farming, most people on planet Earth would die. Because back before we had factory farming, life expectancy was not very high. I think that they picture in their minds some kumbaya romantic time, like the article here from Human Progress points out. People think of a kumbaya romantic time when you lived on a nice, beautiful farm with flowing grains of wheat and animals living in harmony out there, that you'd go off and just tra-la-la, get up in the morning and go out there and just milk the cow and gather some chicken eggs, and wasn't it all lovely? Well, no, it wasn't. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of hard hours, a lot of filth, a lot of disease. Things didn't always work out that well. And because the weather does not cooperate, today they would call that climate change. But today we just know. We knew back then, the weather just doesn't cooperate. And so you get a bad season or two, and then how are you going to survive? How are you supposed to survive when the weather, you do all this work, but the weather's just not going to cooperate? And then, of course, there's bug infestations. And one of the reasons that we have herbicides as well is, well, you're going to get all sorts of fungi in there. I mean, all this stuff needs to be battled off. Today, it's much easier to do because we have an industrialized program. And we figured out how to do it in a way that is as efficient as is possible. Oh, I bet we'll even get more efficient in the future. We're to the point that even the weather doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, we can do this, and we're learning how. We're getting better at it all the time. Now, I got some more from that group. If they want to get or bring us back to a world, as they say, where there is no factory farming, I would like to bring them to some places where that's actually happening, and it does exist. Like some of the poorest countries in Africa, for example, where life expectancy is not very long. Let them live like that for a while. All right, I'm not done picking on these people. I'm going to do a little more in the next segment. So local news is coming your way. Update on your weather forecast after that. You and I get back into it. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:36 at the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, one more thing on this. So there's a group down in Colorado that want to close a sheep or lamb slaughterhouse in Denver, and they also want to get rid of anybody wearing fur, things like this. Wonder if they'll go for leather goods too. They probably will. And according to their own website, they want to end industrial farming. And let's see, leave slaughter behind. Slaughterhouses, I'm reading from the website, inflicts immense harm on our communities and the environment. Leave fur behind. It's Denver's turn to take a stand against unnecessary animal cruelty. And these are a couple of things that they managed to get onto the ballot as ordinances to be written up. And okay, so I've already shown you what the world was like before we had industrial farming. And by the way, it is true that only about 1% of America is farmers. Yet, that 1% not only produces in abundance more than we can ever eat here in America, but much of that food is shipped around the globe and feeds so many people. So think about that small group of people because of the industrial work that they do, the way that we produce food today, feeds so much of the world right now. So I don't think that these folks truly understand what they're asking for. They would like to go back to pre-industrial ages. Then, here again, I want them to live it. My idea is, tell you what, I'll go buy you guys a bunch of plane tickets, and I'm going to send you to, let's say, some country in Africa that's struggling. These are people who still live off the land the way people did pre-industrial. Not by choice, by the way. This is not what they want. This is the hardship they have to endure, but this is not what these people want. They want to be the same kind of country that the United States is. But right now, they're way behind everybody else. The way to save them is to introduce capitalism, to import capitalism to them, to help them get on their feet. That would help save them. But, okay, because of the country that they're in, and they're living in this pre-industrial time, we're talking about people who don't live very long. They're malnourished. You've seen the pictures. You've seen the videos. You've seen the late-night television commercials, long commercials sometimes, about starving kids in these countries. So I want to take this group from Colorado that wants to go back to pre-industrial farming, and let's go. There are some places on planet Earth where that still exists. We're going to take them there and just drop them there. I want you just to spend the summer. You think that's enough? Just the summer here. A year at most. And then we'll come pick you up. And we'll ask you if you want to go back to the way you were living before, or would you like to continue to live in that African country and make everybody else live that way too? Everybody else on the planet. What would you like to do here? And I'm guessing that they would decide to come back to the industrial world, because they too will be malnourished and sick. Bert is in Cheyenne. I would guess that people in this group get in their electric car or walk in the nude to pick fruits and vegetables. Okay. I tell you what, I think that they do, Bert, I think they dream about walking in the nude to get their fruits and vegetables. This is how they picture living life. Again, a real kumbaya kind of a thing. But they've never actually done it. There's the fantasy about what the world was like, and then the reality of it escapes them. Tammy's in Casper. Morning, Tammy.
Well, good morning, Glenn. Let's talk about going back and living before pre-industrial.
Mm-hmm.
I bet these kids are the ones that still don't know where the eggs come from.
They probably don't.
Okay. And I'm a person that I am one generation from a dirt floor farmhouse.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother hauled water to her little garden, which was 2.5 acres. And my grandfather plowed with horses.
Right. And then,
so these kids don't understand.
Yeah, and then we had, in the industrial age, here came petroleum products. And and I include the grease, the oil, the gas, the diesel, et cetera.
And the tractors.
Yes. And because of that, because we got industrialized and started using petroleum products, especially, stuff that they would like to keep in the ground, how much easier is life now? I don't think they understand what it is to go out into the yard and weed by hand.
No, and then, so years ago, I had a friend, and we worked on a custom harvest crew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was a combine operator of a John Deere 9810, and there's your industrial part of it.
Yeah.
But you also have the petroleum.
Yeah.
Okay, the petroleum for the tires, the petroleum for the gas. Granted, the gas, they have the dyed gas for farm equipment, so the farmers get a little bit of a break, or your operators get a little bit of a break. But there was one gentleman down in Texas, and we were strictly cutting weed at the time, but there was one gentleman that had 60,000 acres of wheat.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine trying to get out there with a team of people and do that by hand?
No,
yeah.
I really can't. I can't even imagine plowing that without, without the tractors or the plows or the combs or whatever they use to plow it.
They need to understand that if you go pre-industrial, most of the population of the human race will starve to death, and that, Tammy, includes them. And they haven't thought about it.
They say cows are bad for the environment because all they do is eat plants and fart. Just like vegans.
If it matters in Wyoming, it matters to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Call Glenn at 888-97-WOODS and make your voice heard. AM 1030, K2 Radio.
Down the hatches, here comes the first slap of winter anyway. And, of course,
Don, when I look at news media headlines, they're tending to hype something like this. So I wanted a bit of a reality check from you, if I could.
Well, yeah, we are certainly going to have a lot of winter weather. As I always say in these situations, Wyoming's a big state, and not everybody gets treated the same. And you always have to keep that in mind. So when you hear news stories, that tends to paint a very broad brush over the state. You got to remember that, like politics, all weather is local.
Yes, it is. Okay, so that we will have dropping temperatures. I did start getting little notices for me that I might even get a little bit of rain today in some places. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, the far western and southwest areas of the state will see some developing showers today. But the main event, when the coldest, more moist air comes off the Pacific, is really going to be late tonight and during the day tomorrow into Wednesday morning. So the meat of this system is going to be tomorrow into tomorrow night. And what we're going to see is a trend of the heaviest precipitation go from the southwest corner of the state to the northeast corner of the state. So Evanston, Green River, Rock Springs, South Pass, Lander, Riverton, Casper, then up to the northeast corner, Gillette, up to Newcastle, Sundance, Rapid City. That area, and along that line in about 75 miles on either side of that line, Glenn, is where the heaviest moisture is going to be.
Okay.
So those cities I listed have the best chance of accumulating snow and the most winter weather. Now, the northwest corner and the southwest corners of the state aren't going to be underneath that as much. So the northwest and the southeast will still get precipitation, but there won't be as much. So Laramie and Cheyenne won't get as much as Casper. Gillette will get more than Sheridan. Rock Springs, Green River, and Evanston will get more than Jackson. See how that works in terms of where that band is going to be.
Okay, so now does this, you're saying it kind of starts, I guess it sounds to me like it kind of starts today, late today, goes through tomorrow, and then what, ends in the morning on Thursday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so Wednesday, there will be lingering snow showers Wednesday morning. Wednesday is going to be a cold, blustery day. Wednesday, most folks won't even get out of the 30s. Okay. And then Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we clear out teens and 20s. So for Halloween, it looks cold.
Yes.
But we should be dry by then.
Okay. Cold and windy or just cold?
Cold.
Cold. That is tolerable for a Wyoming kid.
Well, you know what I decided? Kids can't really feel the cold on Halloween. They're too excited. But you know who does feel the cold?
Yeah.
Mom and Dad standing at the end of the sidewalk.
That's okay. You got candy to keep you warm. So, all right. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Don Dave from Day Weather. And off we go to talk to Frank Gambino, who's over there in the ice box, speaking of getting cold and stuff.
I've been through that with my kid.
Yeah.
We were out trick-or-treating one year, and it was snowing bad. And I'm looking at him like, we're the only ones out here.
Yeah. More candy for you.
We hit the same people up twice. Matter of fact, we go to houses because we were the only ones. It was snowing so hard.
Yes.
And my kid, Scott, he was, 7?
Yeah.
He was dressed up as Scream. They literally just gave him the whole bucket.
Here you go, kid. Take it. Yeah. So he didn't even have to change costumes for that.
No.
That makes sense. Okay, now, I'm curious if you know about this place. I was talking with everybody about it this morning. I've heard of it, but I never look. When I'm driving in Cheyenne, down Lincoln Way, there's a McDonald's on Lincoln Way, and on this, right next to the McDonald's, sitting back a little bit, is a place that sells sushi and donuts.
Sushi and donuts?
Yeah.
I've never noticed it.
Okay. So now, just next time you go past the McDonald's here on Lincoln Way, just look right next to it. Sushi, and it used to be just a Dunkin' Donuts many years ago. Now it's sushi and donuts. Now, I asked when I walked through, and the very nice young man behind the counter wanted to know, did I want sushi or donuts? And I said, could I have a donut with some sushi stuck in the hole? And he laughed, and I looked over, and there were people eating sushi, and they seemed to be enjoying it.
Okay.
And then there was the donut side, because, again, this used to be a Dunkin' Donut shop, so okay. And so I asked for a couple of donuts, and I'm walking out, chewing on the donuts, thinking, these are really good.
The sushi or the donuts?
Well, I had the donuts.
Okay. None the twain shall meet.
There's the thing. Now, would you have sushi for dinner and then donuts for dessert?
No.
Okay.
I don't have sushi at all.
Just does. Okay, sushi to me is the Japanese word for I'm not cooking tonight. Here's your damn dinner. That's
Pretty
what
much,
that
yeah.
means.
There you go. All right, in college football, the Wyoming Cowboy football program has hit rock bottom. They are after a 27-25 loss to Utah State in Laramie on Saturday night. Utah State is now 2-6, and they didn't even have their best player in there. And Cowboys are 1-7. And lost the game when Utah State kicked a 40-yard field goal as time expired. At the quarterback spot, maybe it has dawned on the coaching staff that freshman Caden Anderson should be the guy, and Evan Swoboda should be on the bench. Anderson was 15-24 for 182 yards, had some balls dropped. Swoboda 2 of 7 for 12 yards with another interception, the 7th of the year, which led to a USU touchdown in the last minute of the first half. The offense appears to run better with Anderson in there, and maybe he should be in there all the time. And Utah State, their defense was terrible. They allowed the Pokes to run for 276 yards, and UW still lost. The officiating was iffy, too. Wyoming got the raw end of a deal with calls and no calls alike, which earned the ire of head coach Jay Sawvell, who earned a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty and a reprimand from the league for his post-game comments about the officiating. Face it, the Wyoming program is a train wreck with issues all over the place, and if anybody cares, the Cowboys will be at New Mexico on Saturday. National Football League, the Denver Broncos are 5-3 on the year after they drilled a bad Carolina team 28-14. Bronco rookie quarterback Bo Nix threw 3 touchdown passes and ran for another, so he was functional. The Denver defense was functional with a couple of interceptions and 3 sacks. Carolina, woeful 1 for 7. Now it's going to get serious for the Broncos this week schedule-wise, and they will be on the road this week at Baltimore, and the Ravens are pretty good. The state high school cross-country meet was held on Saturday in Cheyenne. In the 4A girls race, Maggie Matson of Cheyenne East won the individual state championship, and Cheyenne Central won the team title by just a single point over Natrona. Central Sophia Rose was 5th, NC's Allie Wheeler was 4th, and her teammate Ashley Gross was 6th. Star Valley won the 4A team title in boys cross-country, with Jace Burton of Star Valley winning the individual title. That's 3 straight for Star Valley in terms of the team title. Central's Race Morrell was 4th, and Natrona's Khalil Brubaker was 5th. Tonight in baseball, it's Game 3 of the World Series as the New York Yankees will host the Los Angeles Dodgers. L.A. won the first 2 games of the series, and their star Shohei Ohtani slightly separated his shoulder in Game 2, but will play tonight. That's it in sports.
Okay, so I'm just looking at UW and going, what was it, 1 game for the season they win? That's about it.
You know what? I think a lot of people have given up on them, and rightfully so. I mean, there's so many issues here.
Yeah, and it sounds like some issues with the coaching too, if they're getting in trouble with the officials.
Well, no, sometimes you got to let the officials know that was not the right call. Right. Let's put it this way: the pecking order of officials, the good officials work the good games. Like Friday, UNLV Boise State, they're low end of the pecking order of the officials. They work games between 2, 1, and 6 teams.
So like UW.
What do you expect?
Yes, okay, gotcha here. So it's the bad.
Officiating the bad.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. And roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. I do want to spend a little bit of time, the Democrats and Republicans, making their closing arguments for the presidential race. And the media's just gotten stupid. So we'll talk about that next hour. And open phones. Wake up, Wyoming. 8:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. So rinse and repeat.
Today's show is sponsored by Rabid Penguin Spray, the only spray guaranteed to keep dangerous rabid penguins at bay.
You never know when you might want to get attacked by one of those suckers. They sneak up behind you,
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave. All right, strap in and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. And a whole bunch of people are texting me using the chat option on the Wake Up Wyoming app, and I appreciate that because it really keeps the program going. Now, I'm going to just step aside for a different topic here. But if you want to drag me back to what we were talking about earlier, you can do that. That's not a problem. And for those who are a little bit late, besides there's a place in Cheyenne, Wyoming that's it's one restaurant that serves donuts and sushi. There was that. Yeah, then there was the other one. There's a group down in Colorado, in Denver, that want to get rid of a lamb slaughterhouse in Denver, Colorado. Plus, they don't want you wearing fur anymore, and they want all food to be produced in a pre-industrial way, and they don't understand what they're asking for and how many people that would starve to death worldwide, including them, by the way. So we did that. All right, now I want to focus on the election for just a bit. So over the weekend, Trump held a rally, Madison Square Garden, and he packed the place. I mean, jam-packed the place. Now, Harris can't seem to do this unless she brings a bunch of celebrities. She had one rally where 20,000 people showed up, but they really showed up to see all the celebrities she brought. How many people were actually there to see her? But what I want to focus on, for those people, and there are a few who listen to this program, who listen to and watch MSNBC, as an example. I monitor organizations like that, but I don't call them news anymore, and they're not. MSNBC is putting the final nail in the coffin of any credibility that they had, and they really didn't have any credibility to begin with, except for a certain group of people who are so out there. I hate making predictions, but now and then something is so obvious, I go for it. MSNBC's ratings, which are just in the toilet, really, and swirling downward, are about to get far worse, far worse. Get a load of this. Underneath, if you're watching something on MSNBC, underneath they have something called a cryon, and that is where they put whatever they want to show you that's going on with the story that they're talking about, right? And so here's Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden, and MSNBC writes underneath the live video of Trump speaking to this massive crowd. They write, Trump's rally comes 85 years after pro-Nazi rally at famed arena. So they're trying to say because 85 years ago there was a pro-Nazi rally, or so they claim, at Madison Square Garden. That's why Trump is there, right? Somebody else, though, points out, never seen a Nazi rally where some of the speakers were Jews, blacks, Hindus, etc., etc. In other words, he had all sorts of minority groups up there. Elon Musk calls MSNBC other scum of the earth for comparing Trump rally to Nazi rally. So I decided for the fun of it to go to the MSNBC website just for a bit, right? Here's some of their headlines. They show Trump and they show Melania, and the headline is, with racist Madison Square Garden rally, Trump and his allies prove Democrats' points. Now, again, if you had all of these people come up to speak that were minorities, how is this a racist Nazi rally? And it's one headline after the next trying to bash Trump like that, and yet one glowing story about Kamala Harris, and she's always smiling and looking so pretty, and Trump is always looking dark. So, for anyone, and there are a few people out there who might watch MSNBC and think of them as a credible news organization of any kind, I'm going to go look up to see what MSNBC's current ratings are. I'm thinking after this, their ratings sink to an all-time low, which is pretty hard to do. All right, off to the phones I go. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Hey, Jude.
Hey, yeah, no, I watched it at Madison Square Garden. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so full. I think it packed like 20,000 indoors, and there were several 100,000 outdoors because it went clean down the road.
Right.
But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the county commissioners in the planning and zoning. County commissioners, I have contacted Peter Nicolason and asked if I could have 15 minutes for me and Rose to do a PowerPoint on the reasons why we shouldn't put a solar farm out in Natrona next door to my house and Tammy Lawson's and a few other people. All four corners don't want it, so that's a plus in my favor. But anyway, one of the gals, I guess, or one of the guys from over on Coates Road posted rules of civility. Well, that was adopted when Chadwick was Board of County Commissioners chairman. And he didn't like hearing from my lawyer who ripped his hiney for about 30 minutes on how you can't impede on someone's constitutional rights. So they decided to put that 3-minute rule in place so that it was, or 5-minute rule in place, so it would shut down any future scoldings by real attorneys doing litigation, right?
Right.
So anyway, that didn't work for long, so they pulled the lectern out of the room and hid it in the back room, trying to keep people from talking, and put some little bitty table that came up to about your knees in there for a while. When Matt Keating was still on the commission, I asked Matt, I said, you want to help me bring that lectern back out here? And he laughed, and he thought it was pretty good. And we went in the back room, and we drug the lectern back out to the area where people can speak. Well, then they kept that 3-minute rule in place for a long time, and I fought against it, and I got the 5-minute back, at least for the commission side. And now Hal Hutchinson has this 3-minute rule on the planning and zoning side. Well, I told you, when you're getting ready to pass something, this is the most important part. When most of the information you're going to receive is going to come through the planning and zoning, from the people to the planning and zoning to the Board of County Commissioners. So these guys can make some accurate judgment. So anyway, when the planning and zoning adopted that 3 minutes, that was part of Chadwick trying to shut us up, and Hal and Jason Gutierrez, all them guys trying to shut people down. Because they have to hold these meetings, but they don't have to listen to us, And this is what blows my mind. If they're going to allow this energy company 30 minutes, an hour to talk, then I want my turn too. Well, I went to Peter about this, Mr. Nicolason, on Board of County Commissioners, and I made a formal request for 15 minutes in front of the planning and zoning and 15 minutes in front of the Board of County Commissioners, and or either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I prefer the planning because that's the beginning stages. That's when this information is the most pertinent, right?
Right.
So he said he's working on it, and I talked to him, I think it was like Thursday or Wednesday last week, and he said that he was working on it, and I said, well, I need to know because Rose and I have our presentation ready to rock and roll, and we're ready to do it, and I need an answer on this. So he texted me back that he would call me back later. Well, I haven't heard back from Peter. I hope he's not sidestepping the issue, because for somebody to post this rules of civility just out of the blue reminds me of the same thing. They don't want to hear why we don't want a solar farm out in an area that has no way to stop a fire, right? Or poison our wells, or blow dirt all over our houses, or blowing garbage, or scrape topsoil. All of these things that they need to know. And I told you, remember, I said, the planning and zoning hadn't even read it, and they were ready to pass it. That tells me we got some people on this planning and zoning that are either idiots or lazy. Now, I know if I was on planning and zoning, I would be reading every single page of it till I understood exactly what these guys were proposing and what it was going to do to our area. Not thinking about the Benjamins, because that's how they lure these idiots in, is, it's going to give the county $40 million, $6 million, but it never materializes. Okay, so it's a big scam, and we know that because we've seen it happen other places. And remember when I asked you to take my Geiger counter to Cheyenne for a solar farm?
Right.
I guess there isn't one there either, huh?
Well, I know there is one south of Cheyenne down in the Colorado area, and there's one being proposed for east of Cheyenne, but it hasn't been built yet.
See? And they're getting all the money for the subsidies and stuff, knowing that Trump is going to cut the subsidies.
Yeah.
Okay? My thing is, We need to postpone all of this till after the first of the year when everybody changes office and then see where we land. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not just be handing out billions of dollars and millions of dollars to these fly-by-night solar farms that come in, wind towers that don't turn, and people getting shards of fiberglass in their bodies from it being tore up at the landfills. We need to say stop right now for a minute.
Right.
And let the new come in, and then let's see what's happening. Get some data on this stuff before we start going down the road of looking like Utah or Nevada, where people are leaving because of these things. You can't sell your house if you're next door to one. Not that I ever planned on selling, but I don't want to be cooked from my insides out either.
Right. All right. Well,
anyway.
Let me know if they should allow you to speak. Let me know if they do. I'd like to find out.
If they do, I'm going to post it, and you can watch me and Rose get after it. But in the meanwhile, we need to stop all of this because they're just grabbing at the money as fast as they can before the subsidies go away. Because that's his first order of business, is there is no more subsidy for green energy.
I hope you're right. I've been asking for that for such a long time. All right. I got to run. Thank you, Judy.
This one's for the people who have ever felt the pain of stepping on a Lego. I know it hurts. This one's for the people who have ever felt the pain of losing $1 to a broken vending machine. It's sad. This one's for the people who's allergic to dogs. That must be rough. Get it? Rough. It's gonna be okay.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Lewis. The only show broadcasting from a bunker under Devil's Tower. Hey, it's cold down here. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, 6 a.m. weekdays on AM 1030 and FM 95.1.
That's 888-97 WOODS. Just going to spend another couple more minutes doing it, move on to other things, because I don't think we need to beat on this. I think we all get it. So I just showed you why. I was going to look it up real quick. Let's see. MSNBC, and I want to see if I can get a real quick look at what their ratings are. Okay, Adweek Cable News Network ratings, because I know they're way down at the bottom. I mean, they're horrible. MSNBC averages for a whole week, a total of about 846,000 viewers. Then, okay. And their average demo is 25 to 54. Some of their most popular shows can have 131,000 viewers. There are people on YouTube that outdo this. I mean, big time. Okay, so it's not just them. MSNBC is done, as far as I'm concerned, because this is what they're doing to Trump by calling this latest rally. It's just a Nazi rally. It was pure propaganda and doing nothing but making Kamala look good. And let's go to CNN. CNN headline from their website: Trump unveils the most extreme closing argument in modern presidential history. His rhetoric ranks among the most flagrant demagoguery by a major figure of any Western nation since World War II. Again, now that's veiled Hitler reference once again, but that's CNN. Let's see. That gets into more regular news. Here's AOC. Here, Ocasio-Cortez response. Trump repeats numerous false claims, and yet they're doing nothing but writing wonderful articles about Ocasio-Cortez. Now, in the meantime, some former newspapers out there that are still sort of out there. Let's see. Dems closing pitch. There's CNN. Okay, Washington Post, which used to be a great newspaper. Washington Post, LA Times was another one. New York Times was another one. But these are newspapers that normally what you see is the editorial staff will get together and they'll decide who the newspaper is going to endorse for president. Now, I don't know about you. I've never cared what the newspaper endorsed for any candidate. I never cared. It's fine that they have commentators. I'm a commentator. It's fine that the newspaper has opinion columnists to write their opinion. That's okay. But the newspaper as a whole, we endorse this candidate. I don't care. Do you? I don't think anyone does. Well, some of these newspapers are having meltdowns, and some of the editorial staff is threatening to quit from several newspapers like Washington Post because, well, Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post, and he told them, you're not endorsing anybody. And again, New York Times did it, LA Times did it, and so on. And editorial staffs want to quit now. How dare you tell us that we can't endorse Harris? Well, again, if you're writing as an independent commentator, you can do whatever you want. But a newspaper as a whole, I'm thinking what's happening. Like, let's take Washington Post and Jeff Bezos. He doesn't want the newspaper to take sides. He wants a news organization, and a true news organization isn't taking sides. So no endorsements. But, they're mad as hell. And if all of these editorial staffs want to quit, then that confirms what you've already known your entire life, how leftist biased these people are. What do you mean we can't endorse Harris? All right, so news organizations that are already have destroyed themselves with their narrative, with their bias, have gone so far all out that there's very few people who can even consume what they do anymore. And whether someone's a Trump supporter or not, put that aside. Doesn't matter. Put it aside. If you are looking for honest, true, sincere journalism, none of these organizations are providing it to you, especially now that we're about a week, I guess, away from the election. Yeah, none of them are giving you anything that is just pure journalism. It is propaganda, obviously. And the closer they get, the more they panic, the worse the propaganda gets, which to me is good. Let them destroy themselves. That's fine. All right, completely different topic coming up, and your phone calls if you want to jump in. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. I got local news, got your weather forecast. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Morning, Big Red. He's in Hawk Springs. All right, covered a lot of territory today, and a lot of people also text me. If you don't want to call in, use the Wake Up Wyoming app, free to download at your app store. Just hit the chat option. Send me text messages, and I answer back both on and off the air for all of this. Okay, we're coming up on Halloween, which is my favorite holiday, to the point that the hallway out in front of my studio here is all decorated, and every year I add more decorations. It's really getting cool out there. And also I leave a bowl of candy, and wow, the people here really go at that bowl. I filled that bowl, it's a big bowl, several times over. And they just keep emptying the thing out. And that's okay, because that to me is my favorite Halloween. My favorite holiday is Halloween. So to me, Halloween is not Freddy Krueger or slasher films or gore fests or anything like that. If you've ever, I'm not into musicals, but if you've ever watched The Nightmare Before Christmas, there you go. To me, Halloween is spooky fun. You know, I like the ghost stories and things like that, and the witches and, you know, that kind of stuff has always been just spooky fun. I've always enjoyed that. And since I was born just before Halloween, I mean, so close that I asked my mom, you couldn't have held on for another couple of minutes here so I could have been a Halloween baby? Her answer, and I quote, wanted you the hell out. So, I'm not quite a Halloween baby, but I'm close enough. Unfortunately, though, there's always those people who want to ruin a good time.
Trick or treat!
Oh, aren't you precious? And looks like you've done really well for yourself.
Yeah, I was walking all over the neighborhood farther than anyone else. Hey, what are you doing? That's my candy.
Oh, you didn't earn that. Sharing is caring, you know. There are kids out there who are less fortunate and can't afford a costume this year.
Yeah, well, they can go out and mow lawns and earn money like I did.
Here you go, kid.
Hey, 99%. 99%. They weren't out there trick-or-treating.
But they're the less fortunate.
But they never left the house. I did all the work.
Well, and you know, I'm afraid there's just not enough here. We're going to have to ask you to go out and get some more.
But...
Be back by 9. That's bedtime. See you later.
So, yeah, there's always somebody that has to screw it up like that. And the answer is I don't share. I do share candy in the sense that I buy candies and I bring them to work and everybody can just have at it. Have as much as you want. I don't care. Love handing out candies to the kids and so on. But when I was a trick-or-treater, it was mine. I did the work. That belongs to me. I remember, in fact, when I was a kid in school, I had brought a lunch to school like everybody else did. And I had worked, and even though I was a kid, I had done some work and I earned some money. And I bought myself some of these little candies, about Halloween size. And I put them in my lunchbox now and then, just for a little fun thing for dessert. One teacher saw me with one of these little things. Did you bring enough for everybody else? And I said, of course not. Well, you have to share with... No, I don't. Look, I went out and worked and earned money to buy this candy to put in my lunchbox. And I was only in elementary school at the time, but I understood. I worked hard and I earned money, and I bought myself a treat for my lunchbox. And if the other kids in the classroom would like to do the same, I get it. They probably want what I have. So go out there and earn some money, work for it. Now, we then get to the problem of after Halloween, when you come home with all of these bags or big bag, whatever it might be, full of candy. And there's the good stuff, then there's the crap that people threw into your bag. What do you do with all of that? Well, this is what I call Halloween candy training. It's one of the best videos on the internet.
If you like Necco wafers, the original candy wafer, yeah, that's a category that really took off, there's no need to watch this video. You're going to get screwed no matter what. Same goes if you like those nasty little orange and black candies. Save yourself some time, don't go trick-or-treating, just eat random crap you find on the floor. And now we begin. Step 1, identifying your trading partner. Children under the age of 5 are legally protected. That's because of Becky's Law, named after a Wisconsin girl who traded her entire stash for a box of Good 'n' Plenty's that her brother had convinced her were unicorn eggs. She cried for 3.5 years. Children between the ages of 5 and 7 are allowed a 30-second trade-back grace period. This also applies to the elderly. If you have friends or siblings with any of the following traits, they make ideal trading partners. If you don't, you'll have to get crafty. Start by determining the flavor affinity of your opponent. There are 3 basic classes, and each one has a weakness. Be warned that a classic strategy is to pretend that you're in the fruit and sour category while executing the Smarties gambit for a full-size Snickers. If you'd like to download a PDF version of this chart, please look in your butt. If your opponent says that they like special darks, be kind to them. They're probably going to be your boss someday. Likewise, if they express interest in any of the oral fixation candies like wax lips, paper dots, candy cigarettes, or pop rocks, keep track of them. They're going to be fun to hang out with in college before they drop out. Step 2, pre-trade organization and preparation. Loose candy corn should be placed with your pennies. They're equally worthless. Under the new health law, ripped or unwrapped candy falls under the protection of pre-existing condition, and although they lose value, you cannot exclude them from trading. Dum-Dums should be organized in complete sets, not by individual flavor, unless of course you have 3 or more root beers, which can be set aside. Lump your 3 Musketeers together with your Milky Ways to ferret out people that don't know the difference. Most likely they'll confuse Crackles and Mr. Goodbars too. Hide your Mary Janes, banana-flavored taffies, and any short-lasting bubblegums under a pile of Whoppers, Goobers, Caramel Cubes, and Red Hots. Be prepared to offer the full stack as an all-or-none trade for a Charleston Chew or Grater. Although nerds are technically inert pop rocks, they should be placed in their own category. Unfortunately, Butterfingers, Almond Joy, and Mounds should be set aside for the mom and dad tax. Note that there is growing support to repeal the mom and dad tax, as it hurts honest candy disclosure and might lead children to stop trick-or-treating altogether. If possible, avoid major transactions until after the election. And raisins should be burned and then peed on. by your dog. Part 3, classic strategies. Avoid anyone who suggests dumping all the candy in a pile and rationing it out based on hunger. They are Marxists. John Maynard Keynes suggested taking 40% of the candy from the children with the most, burying it in the ground, and then giving the candy-poor children jobs digging it up. Or, of course, you can try the classic approach. Whatever you choose, remember that Pixie Sticks, Twizzlers, and Smarties are your workhorses, and Fifth Avenues are better than 100 grand. And as for anyone who gave you an apple, don't worry. They're going to hell.
I do have one complaint for some people who were with me here in Wyoming a little while ago, and by that I mean like last week or the week before. I went out with a friend of mine who does photography for me, and we went around because I'd seen in Casper, Wyoming, some really great Halloween decorations. I mean, just the coolest thing. Thought, wow, Casper's really doing it up this year. So we went around during the day, and we did a photo gallery, which is on the Wake Up Wyoming website, showing you all of these great decorations. Then we went out again at night because some of these decorations are lit up. So we did some nighttime photography and really turned out great. So to be fair, I thought, okay, I gave a lot of credit. Let's try the capital city next. So this past weekend, I was in Cheyenne. Cheyenne. Hello, Cheyenne? The hell's the problem? I drove all over the place. I've lived in Cheyenne. I know the town. I drove all over the place. There were maybe 2 or 3 houses in the entire city of Cheyenne that had some good decorations up, but most everybody else has nothing. If they do have something, it's an item or two. I mean, and just because you bought a blow-up thing for your front yard, please. So to Cheyenne, I would like you guys to get with it if you could, because that was just, this year, you're just really lame. And I will, in the coming years, be checking out other neighborhoods, other towns around Wyoming, just to see how you doing with your Halloween decorations. Also, I do the same thing for Christmas decorations, too. Get into it a little bit. Shelley and Mills, I heard a story last week, maybe it was you, that manufacturers are pulling more of the cheap stuff in the mixed candy bags because of the cost of chocolate. The cost of chocolate and I don't know. I would like to look into that to find out if they are putting more. I do know that the candies have gotten smaller. The bags are more expensive and the candies have gotten smaller. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, right? Coming up on 846 Wake Up Wyoming.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
$8:49 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the Icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, I'm thinking about going on a long road trip, and anyone who wants to go, that includes you, can come with me.
Okay, depends. What is the longest road trip driving that you've done?
Oh, wow.
My distance, probably 3 or 4 times, is about 18 hours.
Okay. Let me see. I went from Central Florida all the way up to Massachusetts, Concord, Massachusetts. I forget how long that was.
That'd be about 15, 16, give or take. Yeah,
Also,
maybe longer with traffic, yeah.
And I left the mountains of North Carolina and drove out to Gillette, Wyoming.
Well, it's over 30.
Probably. Now, this one would be about 79 hours.
79.
Yes. Now, here's what we do.
Where are we going?
This is what inspires the trip, and anyone who wants to go, come along, because it's worth it. We start in Washington State at Poo-Poo Point.
Poo-Poo Point?
Yes, Washington State. That is a place. Look it up.
Okay.
Now, at some point, we wind up in Ohio at Pee-Pee Creek.
Pee-Pee Creek?
Yes. Then we go all the way up past Nova Scotia to an island up there called Pee-Pee Island.
Pee-Pee Islands. We have creek and island.
Poo-Poo, Pee-Pee, and Pee-Pee.
Pee-Pee Creek.
Yeah.
And Pee-Pee Island.
To me, that is totally worth the road trip just to hit those places and document that we've done it. Are you in?
Why don't we just fly there?
If you want to, Frank. I mean,
You have a plane and you're a pilot. Why don't we just fly there?
I'll go ahead and see if there's airports there. I'll check.
Oh, I'm sure there is. All right, in college football, the Wyoming Cowboy football program is hitting a rock bottom. They lost to Utah State and Laramie on Saturday, 27-25, so they are 1-7 on the year, and Utah State is now 2-6. And they won this game without their best player, and they won the game kicking a 40-yard field goal as time expired. At the quarterback spot, maybe it has dawned on the coaching staff that freshman Caden Anderson should be the guy, and Evan Swoboda should be on the bench. Anderson was 15 of 24, threw for 182 yards, had some couple of balls dropped. Swoboda 2 for 7 for 12 yards with another interception, the 7th of the year, which led to a USU touchdown in the last minute of the first half. He appears to be a much better running back than a quarterback, and the offense does seem to run better with Anderson in there, and he should be in there all the time, and then find another spot for Swoboda somewhere. Utah State has a terrible defense and allowed the Pokes to run wild for 276 yards, and UW still lost. The officiating was iffy. Wyoming got the raw end of that deal with calls and then no calls, which earned the ire of head coach Dave Sawvell, who earned an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and then a reprimand from the league for his post-game comments about the officiating, which essentially he said it was horse hockey. Face it, the Wyoming Cowboy program is a train wreck with issues just about everywhere. Man, if anybody cares, the Cowboys will be at New Mexico in Albuquerque on Saturday. In the NFL, the Denver Broncos, 5 wins, 3 losses after they drilled a bad Carolina team 28-14. Bronco rookie quarterback Bo Nix threw 3 TD passes and ran for another. So he was functional. The Denver defense was functional with a couple of interceptions and 3 sacks. Carolina is a woeful 1-7, but it's going to get serious for the Broncos this week. They'll be on the road at Baltimore. The state high school cross-country meet was held on Saturday in Cheyenne at the Little America Golf Course, and the 4A girls race, Maggie Matson from Cheyenne East won the individual state championship. Cheyenne Central won the team title for the ladies by a single point over Natrona. Central Sophia Rose was 5th, NC's Allie Wheeler 4th, and her teammate Ashley Gross was 6th. Star Valley won the boys 4A team title, going 1-2-3. Jason Burton of Star Valley won the individual title. Central's Race Morrell took 4th, and Natrona's Khalil Brubaker was 5th. Titan baseball, it's Game 3 of the World Series. The New York Yankees hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers. LA won the first 2 games of the series, and their star Shohei Ohtani slightly separated his shoulder in Game 2, but will play tonight. And that's it in sports.
Okay, baseball.
You know, the Dodgers won that game with a walk-off grand slam in the 10th inning. That's the first time that's been done in the World Series.
Wow.
So, and people were just wild over that.
So who's got this?
Oh, I think the Dodgers do.
You do think so? Okay.
And really, the more the Dodgers can strike out Aaron Judge, he just swings at everything, and he's not even close, and he's like their best hitter.
Yeah.
He looks terrible in the World Series. Terrible.
So, everybody said, Frank picked the Dodgers. You know what that means?
They take the Yankees, right?
That's right, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. Oh, Amendment A here in the state of Wyoming. There's a lot of questions about that. Well, there's a group that has endorsed Amendment A, and that's all I needed to hear to be against it is that they endorsed it. I'll explain next hour, and your phone calls at 888-97 Woods. Wake Up Wyoming. Six of the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Monday, so rinse and repeat.
Today's show is sponsored by Rabid Penguin Spray, the only spray guaranteed to keep dangerous rabid penguins at bay.
You never know because they sneak up behind you, you know.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
First off to Shelley and Mills, thanks for sending me that. I'm looking at it right now. It is true. With Halloween less than a week away, the story says, trick-or-treaters in Canada are in stores looking at smaller chocolate treats that are even non-chocolate candies. As high as cocoa prices are, candy people people want candy can get spooked away. So they're coming up with other candies to try to tempt you and other things that would be flavored for chocolate but not exactly chocolate. And yes, your candy bars have gotten a whole lot smaller. Off we go to the phones. Greg and Laramie on News Media. Hello, Greg.
Hey, how's it going, Glenn?
Life is good.
Yes. I'm out in the Pacific Northwest again.
Okay.
His name was Charles Lindbergh, and
Yeah.
he was a Nazi sympathizer, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
And his name is Donald Trump,
Uh-huh.
and he's a Russian sympathizer that exhibits authoritarian.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Did
they're
you
very
get that?
similar.
Wait, Greg, did you get that from watching what news organization?
I read the only journalist left in America, Dr. Marcy Wheeler from Empty Wheel. I don't watch any of the, as a matter of fact, I don't.
Okay.
I'm so sick of the ads. I don't even watch football or baseball anymore because I'm sick of it. I just can't stand it.
Well, the reason I say that
So-
because what you just told me is absolute garbage and has been proven so. So I was wondering what your information was.
Well, again, if you start reading enough of her, you can. And I listen to you. You absolutely repeat what the Russian media wants you to repeat.
What the Russian
To
media
be
said.
honest.
I repeat. Well, okay. Let me tell you where I'm really coming from, Greg. I am sick of them all. I am done with Fox News. I quit watching them alone. I monitor news organizations to see what they're doing, but as far as actually finding real news, it is just about close to impossible to do right now. And as we get closer to election time, the closer we get, the more these people reveal who they really are. And there's almost nobody out there giving actual news right now. It's pure propaganda.
Glenn, I'll just say this, just like when you said, that they shouldn't, the news media shouldn't be taking sides. Again, when the rank and file have been, looking at it the last 4 years and want to make an endorsement, and then billionaires that own them say no, but you say we should acquiesce to billionaires. I think
That's not what I said. Hold on. I didn't say that. I did not say
that's what it sounds
You
like.
just twist.
The
Okay.
fourth
No, wait.
estate-
If that's what it sounded like, let me correct it for you because you just got that completely wrong. If, let's say we're talking old-fashioned newspapers, right, which really don't exist much, but let's imagine we're looking at a newspaper.
LA Times and Washington Post, the people that acquiesce.
So in those newspapers, they have certain commentators. I'm a commentator, and I don't mind if a commentator, which is they have the left and the right, the newspapers used to have a nice even spread of commentators from many different points of view. They don't do that so much anymore, but they used to. If the commentator wants to endorse someone, that's just fine, because that goes in the opinion section of the newspaper. And anyone who doesn't like reading opinions can just skip that section. You follow me so far? Okay. The newspaper itself, though, should just report news and not take anybody's side on this, just be non-biased news. So when all of the different editors of the different departments get together and endorse a candidate, that is your newspaper taking a side, and that's what I'm opposed to.
The Constitution allows newspaper organizations to have much more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And they're supposed to do, the fourth estate, is to hold politicians account to keep our Constitution whole.
Mm-hmm.
They are not doing that with Trump. Trump is an
They're not doing that with
anti-constitutionalist.
Harris. They're not doing. They didn't do that with Biden. They didn't do that with Harris. They didn't do that with Obama.
The Constitution.
But they didn't do that
That's
with
the
Harris,
fact.
Obama, or any of these other people. And again, if Jeff Bezos, if Jeff Bezos, who owns the newspaper, wants to make sure that his newspaper is profitable, then he's going to have them just report news and not take sides. If the newspaper takes sides, they lose readers.
But Bezos doesn't care about profitability.
He doesn't?
No.
Where'd you get that idea?
Well,
he's a billionaire.
Doesn't care about profitability.
He cares about. How do you think he became a billionaire?
Throw money away.
Yeah.
He can throw money away just like
Sure.
Musk does.
Okay, that sounds very convenient. So let's get this straight, Greg. Not only did you get completely wrong what was happening at the Trump rally, you just completely misunderstood everything that I just said, and you misunderstand what Jeff Bezos is doing as well. Congratulations, Greg. You got everything wrong. Hello, Rose. Rose is in Casper.
Hello, Glenn. Well, after that silly debate, why don't you let me report on the news and you take a breath?
Thank you. I got coffee over here. Go for it.
Okay. The Republican Central Committee is tonight down at the Ramkota at 6 o'clock. And then tomorrow night is the Rocky Mountain rate increase. I'm sure you're going to hear back from Tony Locke tomorrow about that from 5 to 7. That's at the Thyra Thompson in Casper and the Ramkota in Casper if anybody's interested in attending.
Okay. No, I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, that's pretty much all I got, other
Okay.
than unless you want to talk about Amendment A some more.
I do actually I would like to hear because I got something on Amendment A here. And you see, what I'm going to do is there's an organization, very liberal organization, that I like to watch to see what they're doing. But, Rose, I never mention who they are because people might go to their website. And right now, nobody goes to the website but me. So that's why I don't mention who they are. They have endorsed Amendment A. If this radical leftist group has endorsed Amendment A, that gives me another reason to be against it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we've got lobbyists. That's for Wyoming, and I've posted some stuff on Facebook. If you go to my page, Glenn, you can look at all that. We've got a lobbyist out there that's with the Realtors Association also, and she's promoting this. And there's another reason. But when you look up this PAC, you can't find information on it. And these flyers, so there's I think we've figured out around the state there's about 5 different flyers going around, and those flyers are not cheap. So if they're putting this kind of money into advertising, plus with the TV ads, if they're not going to make money off of this, why are they spending this kind of money to promote something like this? I guess just from a common sense standpoint.
I think that's a very good question. I understand people being for it or against it, even if they disagree with me. Call the program, write your local news media outlet, put an opinion piece out there. But the money being put into those that are in favor of this, it actually looks to be quite a bit. And I do wonder, so what's in it for them?
Realtors and developers, I think, are going to profit well from this, but. And if you go back to history and you look at, the people have wanted property tax relief and reform for the past 6 years, and essentially the can was just kicked down the road time and time again. Yeah. And it wasn't until the ballot initiative, the People's Ballot Initiative for 50% off of residential property taxes across the board, uniform and equal, as is stated in our Constitution, until that came to be and got them scared, they weren't willing to do anything.
Okay.
So there's another thing that why now? Why all of a sudden are you willing to do something? Because the people took matters into their own hands, because in Wyoming the people have the right to legislate their own laws.
Right. Plus, as you and I talked about last time we had this conversation, there's a much easier solution that would simplify the whole process, and there wouldn't be any more property taxes at all. So I'd rather look at that.
That's correct. There's two things, and I agree with you. 203, exchanging property taxes for a consumption tax, makes a lot more sense to me, and I'm interested to see what comes out. There's some bills being written, and I'm still not solely against acquisition because that's based on the purchase price, but I do like 203 much better. It was brilliant.
All right. Thank you for calling in, Rose. I do appreciate it.
Introducing Independence. Independence allows you the freedom to finally think independently once again. Instead of believing everything you hear from the mainstream media, Independence allows for constructive critical thinking. Independence may not be for everyone. If you enjoy being lied to about your president's cognitive abilities, support Orwellian totalitarianism, or are excited about communist fiscal policy, Independence may not be right for you. Common side effects of Independence may include an awakening of rational thought, successfully identifying propaganda, freedom of choice, loss of hatred, anti-narcissistic behavior, and love of democracy.
I used to blindly hate whoever my party was running against. I didn't care about facts or policy because I was hopelessly indoctrinated. With Independence, I'm much more interested in policies that uphold democracy, and I truly care about the health of our country and its citizens.
Ask your doctor if Independence is right for you, and enjoy your freedoms once again.
Wake Up Wyoming goes anywhere you do with the Wake Up Wyoming app. Free download for Apple and Android. This is K2 Radio.
9:23 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Real quick here, since I am getting quite a few comments on Greg's call. And Greg, just so you know, the only reason I hung up is I had another caller waiting, and we were pushing the clock back. And at some point, I got to move on. But I do appreciate when Greg calls because, see, there's Dave from San Francisco, and Dave is just a jerk. He's a condescending, obnoxious jerk that has nothing intelligent to say. So Dave doesn't last long. As soon as he starts insulting me and insulting you, which means he doesn't have any substance, he's just insulting, I hang up on him. Greg, at least, we disagree with everything. I know everybody's disagreeing with everything Greg has to say, but Greg has the nerve to listen to the show, okay, and other opposing points of view, and then he wants to call up and debate it, which is okay, because I do like a good debate. And Greg is not condescending or anything like that. I did notice, especially in that last call, Greg, if you're still listening, here's what I noticed. The Trump rally is held, and you completely misunderstand everything that happened at the Trump rally, that was Madison Square Garden. And for those people who are trying to make a connection between Madison Square Garden and Hitler and Nazis meeting some years ago, it's nonsense. They're trying to find a Hitler connection, and it doesn't work. But also, Greg quoted several other people and misunderstood what those people were talking about. Greg, you heard something I was talking about, and you completely misunderstood what I was talking about. And therein, I think, lies the problem, Greg. You are not processing things correctly. And I mean that. You're not. You heard something that I was talking about, and you completely misunderstood it. And that processing is what I think the problem is. That if I could give you any advice, work on that. Because what you hear and how your brain processes that information, there's a problem in there. People are saying things, and you're completely misunderstanding them. All right. I wanted to talk real quick about Amendment A, which is, for those people in Wyoming, is going to be on your ballot. And I did write an article, including links to Amendment A, because a lot of people don't know what it is. Now, the Reader's Digest version is, it's a very short bill proposed for the Wyoming legislature. But in order for them to do this, they have to change the Constitution. They have to change the Wyoming Constitution. And it would have to do with solving the property tax issues in Wyoming. Now, again, Reader's Digest version, by making different classifications for homeowners, plus people who have more than one home, business owners, things like this. Now, it's actually a very simple idea. If you want to read it, just whatever search engine you use, just Wyoming Amendment A, and make sure to put the year behind it, 2024. So you get this year's, because it's going to be on this year's ballot. It's very simple to read. Okay, the introduction, it's 4 pages. The first page is the introduction, and you can just say, forget that unless you want to read their introduction. The last page is where everybody signs it, including the governor. And so skip that. Okay. It's the 2 pages in the middle that you're interested in, and they're not very long, and the language is easy. What I don't like about Amendment A, as far as tax reform goes, Amendment A is adding another level, several levels, I think, of bureaucracy to our tax code already. It complicates something that's already too complicated. Part of the problem with the property tax code in Wyoming and many other places, it's a very complicated system that most people, including tax assessors, don't even understand. So to add more complexity to it is not going to solve the problem. Now, remember, I wrote a book called The Uncomplicated Life, which doesn't discuss politics. It discusses a way of thinking and a way of getting things done efficiently. And you don't solve a problem by making it more complicated, which is the basic reason, that I'm giving you the basic reason why I'm against Amendment A. But then there's this group. This is a leftist organization in Wyoming. They're very far left. So far left, they want to have a Wyoming state income tax.
And that's just some of what they're in favor of. These people are really left. That's why I never tell you who they are. I read their webpage, and I think I like to kid around and say, I'm the only one who reads their webpage. Oh, there might be another dozen people out there. I just like seeing what they talk about. And they come out, vote yes on Amendment A to give lawmakers better tools for tax reform. And as I read their explanation as to why they would be in favor of Amendment A, I realize that I have more reason now than ever before to be against it. But just the fact that this organization is in favor of it tells me I need to be against it, because these people are so whacked out far left. There's no way it could be good that they're in favor of it. And but I really get back to the reasoning behind, let's not solve a problem by making it more complicated. That's not a solution. That just brings us further down the rabbit hole, and we don't want to go there. Coming up on 9:30, local news coming your way. After local news update on the weather forecast, you and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming.
Got something to say to Glenn? Use the chat on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app and get your opinions straight to the studio with K2 Radio.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So I didn't get to this today. I'm just going to touch on a few things. Maybe we can get them into it a little bit later this week. As you know, folks, we're living in the end times.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying, just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
So with that in mind, I'm just going to go through a few basic headlines and ideas for you here. Let me see. Blade failure at Vineyard, Martha's Vineyard. Project costs about $700 million. More blade problems found on many more wind turbines. So they built a bunch of wind turbines there off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. And, the blades are failing and causing a big mess, too, by the way. Next one, and I love this headline. America's buried treasure discovered. A massive lithium deposit could power electric car revolution. Okay, except that there's not an electric car revolution. So there's not. They tried. I mean, the Biden administration and other governments around the world, Europe and so on, have tried to make an electric car revolution, but there's not. It's not working, which is why I have been saying all along, you cannot create an artificial economy. It doesn't work. I'd like to get into that a little bit later this week if I can. Let's see. Shock rise in whale, dolphin, and porpoise strandings as wind farms proliferate around British coast. So the more wind turbines they put out there, the more they have problems with whales, dolphins, porpoises. Okay. Difference between just so you know, by the way, a porpoise and a dolphin, the difference is its snout. A lot like when you look at a crocodile and an alligator. What's the difference? Its snout. Really, that's it. The nose is different. The mouth is different. Other than that, they're the same thing. And by the way, an orca, also known as a killer whale, is not a whale. It is the largest breed of dolphin. A killer whale is the largest breed of dolphin. It's not a member of the whale family, just so you know. All right, now, let's see. See if I can play a little bit of this. You know that Trump went on Joe Rogan, right? And, man, did he get a lot. Joe Rogan's never seen ratings that high. I mean, honestly. I think about doubled regular Joe Rogan ratings. And his ratings are, as Trump would say, huge. So the climate issue came up. And I think Trump had some pretty good answers to this.
Producing American oil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the environmental is the biggest tool for stopping growth, the biggest tool. The other is regulation. And if you speak to Elon, he said the regulation now to send a rocket up to anywhere, even if you do everything, it's becoming impossible. But they use environmental in order to get people not to do anything. And sometimes I say, I look at some of I know the environmental stuff better because I had to build buildings in New York. I had to do environmental impact studies. And I would see some of these guys that I'd hire for a lot of money, environmentalists that would get you through the process. And they'd be up in Albany, that's the capital of New York, and they're up there trying to make it tougher for guys like me that were builders because they'd get paid more money. In other words.
Okay, so you get the idea. And he goes on from there, but you get the idea. Here's our environmentalists who, they want more regulation because the more regulation, the more like a lawyer. The longer the lawyer can keep the case in trial, the more money the lawyer gets. And the same thing with the environmental groups, which are not really environmental groups. Okay. Harvard University wants to train planetary healers. I'll get into that later in the week. Oh, cut meat and dairy consumption by 50%, orders the CCC. So that's not an American organization. This is over in the UK. Britain must cut its meat and dairy consumption by 50% to meet net zero targets, the government climate watchdog says. The Climate Change Committee said in an ideal scenario, meat and dairy consumption should be halved by 2050 with plant-based options. Again, get into that later this week. Next one, rural and coastal residents delay and block wind and solar, mostly wind projects. And you can understand why. EPA proposes yet another impossible standard. Yeah, they just keep getting worse. Again, later this week, well, I'm saving these. We'll get into that. And also, I love this story. Scientists were wrong. Plants absorb about 31% more CO2 than previously thought. They love CO2. It's life to them. It's airborne fertilizer, if you will. And so, if anything, we need to have more CO2 in the air, not less. More CO2 in the air has been greening the planet, which is what we want, a greener planet. It's not a pollutant, and plants not only need more of it, but you can see by this here, they absorb more than we ever thought before. They want more of it. They're hungry for it. 9:42 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
Coming up on 9:48, off we go to the icebox where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, I decided to give you a choice on this one. There is the things my dog has devoured. I mean, really weird, shocking stuff that people's dogs have eaten. Or I gave Miss Mary a rent-a-boyfriend list for Thanksgiving.
Rent a boyfriend for Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Only for that day?
Yes.
Does the guy cook?
Well, I have there's a price list here as far as what
Prices?
he does. So did you want to go with that one?
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Okay, we can save the dog thing for another time.
Yes.
Well, I figured Miss Mary might need it, so I actually did send this to her. We're coming up on Thanksgiving, and as we do, some people are going to have to go home to the family, and they're going to go by themselves yet again. And so there will be questions, of course, Frank, from the family. So rent a boyfriend Thanksgiving package. The silver package, $75 a plate, 2 hours at dinner, matching outfits, tell a few jokes. That's what you get for $75.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, the matching outfits are very important.
Yeah. Oh, very, very. That way you look like you're a couple.
Yeah, very important. Yes.
Now, the gold is $150 a plate.
Who's paying?
Well, the girl.
Oh.
She's renting a boyfriend to take home to her family.
$150 for her plate and his?
And his, yes. 3 hours at dinner.
Oh, boy.
Cute backstory on how they met.
Okay.
Details about what he does for a living that will impress the parents.
Okay.
And call your dad Pops.
Well, scratch the last part.
Okay, get rid of the last
and
one
also
there?
just
Yes.
cut that down to 2 hours.
2 hours?
You know,
Okay,
same subject matter.
Well, yes. But
You know, but 2 hours
But you
is
see,
fine.
the reason I think it's 3 hours is because it's not just the dinner. I mean, there's the before dinner and after dinner. So
the extra, you can make that 8 hours because the guy's going to say, you know what, I'm watching football.
Well, now here's the platinum package. So Mary,
there's more.
Yeah, so Mary doesn't have a boyfriend to take home. Parents are really worried. She brings home, now this is expensive. It's $350.
What?
$350.
Would he actually picks her up and takes her to dinner somewhere?
And this includes a to-go plate that the boyfriend gets to leave with. Okay,
Oh.
He will be there all day. He will impress the family with his presence all day.
All day.
And he will actually say to Miss Mary, "I love you," right in front of the whole family.
Oh,
okay.
In between football games.
Would even and when mom shows up with dessert, we'll kiss mom on the cheek.
Oh, and that'll be in between football games too.
Football games, got to watch football games with Dad,
Yep.
and help clean up after dinner.
Well,
now that's $350.
bucks. There's a line in the sand right there.
Yes. Okay. So
Yeah, I'm not. For me, I'm not much help. You know,
Right, yeah.
Is it, Frank, you gonna help me? I don't know what I'm doing.
Frank, let's face it. You're the $5 boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You're going to show up and eat. You'll grunt at a few people. If we give you $10, you won't say anything obnoxious.
If you give me $15, I'll watch all 3 football games. In college football, how low can it go for the Wyoming Cowboys? A 27-25 loss to woeful Utah State and Laramie on Saturday. So the Aggies are 2-6 on the year, and they didn't even have their best player, and they won. Folks are 1-7 on the year, and they lost the game when Utah State kicked a 40-yard field goal as time expired. At the quarterback spots, it's probably dawning on the coaching staff now that freshman Caden Anderson should be the guy at that quarterback spot, and Evan Sabota should be on the bench or play a different position. Anderson was 15 of 24 for 182 yards, got some balls dropped. Sabota 2 of 7 for 12 yards with another interception, his 7th of the year, which led to a USU touchdown in the last minute of the first half. The offense appears to be running better with Anderson in there, and really, at this point, he should be in there all the time. Utah State has a terrible defense and allowed the Pokes to run for 276, and it's running wild, and they still lost. Officiating was iffy, too. Wyoming got the raw end of that deal with calls and no calls alike, which earned the ire of head coach Jay Sawvell, who earned a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty and a reprimand from the league for his post-game comments about the officiating. The sportsmanlike conduct penalty was far more critical. Face it, the Wyoming program is a train wreck with issues everywhere, and if anybody cares, Cowboys will be heading to Mexico on Saturday. National Football League, the Denver Broncos are 5-3. They drilled a bad Carolina team yesterday, 28-14. Bronco rookie quarterback Bo Nix threw 3 touchdown passes and ran for another. He was functional. Denver defense functional, too, with a couple of interceptions and 3 sacks. Carolina's 1-7. But it's going to be a serious action for the Broncos this week. They'll be on the road to take on Baltimore. State High School cross-country meet was held on Saturday in Cheyenne in the 4A girls race. Maggie Matson of Cheyenne East won the individual state championship, and Cheyenne Central won the team title by a single point over Natrona. Central Sophia Rose was 5th, NC's Allie Wheeler 4th, and teammate Ashley Gross was 6th. Star Valley, the boys, won the 4A team title for the 3rd consecutive year, and Jace Burton of Star Valley won the individual title. Central's Race Morrell took 4th, and Natrona's Khalil Brubaker was 5th. And tonight in baseball, it's Game 3 of the World Series. The New York Yankees will host the Los Angeles Dodgers. L.A. won the first 2 games of the series, and their star Shohei Ohtani slightly separated his shoulder in Game 2, but will play tonight in Game 3. And that's it in sports.
How many games are going to be?
I think it'll be 6.
Okay.
6 games. The Dodgers will win in 6. I think the Yankees will probably win tonight, and they'll probably win the next game, and they'll go back into L.A. and
Okay.
I guess the TV ratings have been really, really good.
Oh yeah. I mean, as you know, I don't pay attention to this stuff, but boy, I've seen a lot of stuff on social media about this game. So I assume fans are really excited.
Totally.
Okay. Is Frank excited?
You know what? It's the first 2 games. It's been good. I mean, it really has.
Okay. But who do you want to win?
I want the Dodgers to win.
You want the what?
Dodgers. But I'm not a big Dodgers fan.
No.
I just don't like the Yankees.
But they're not the Yankees.
Right.
Okay, I get it. No, I totally get it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Frank. And that's the only thing I get about sports. Coming up on Local Business, we have to take care of news time after that. It's Wake Up Wyoming.